Hey guys, so I'm a massive idiot. I was recording something else using OBS and required my face to be a little bit bigger. For that, as you'll see in the video, I forgot to reset my camera, and my dumb idiot face is blocking some of the cards, and it makes the deck lists. You can't see some of it. I don't think it makes it unwatchable. I didn't want to throw out the video because I was pretty happy with it, but I apologize in advance because it will be kind of weird, but uh, hopefully it won't be that big of a deal. Hey, what's up, guys? So this is a deck that I have sort of accidentally been working on for a while. Um, if you remember before the most recent expansion, I was playing a lot of Conscription Redoran. I was very interested in Conscription Redoran. When the new expansion came out, I saw all of these tools, specifically Faded Wraith, and thought, okay, hey, how do I make this work in Conscription Redoran? And as I was building it, basically just came to the conclusion that this would be just much better in Empire, and so that's where we ended up. This is Conscription Empire, and this is something that I think a lot of people haven't really gone for yet, but I think something that's going to really pick up, which is using Faded Wraith without this hand buff synergy. A lot of people have been running this hand buff synergy as a way to consistently get Faded Wraith, and a card I don't think is very good and determines supplier up to high totals. Dremora Channeler as well. I don't think you need to do that. I think just going simple, you run your Fervors, your Commanders, and you even throw in a couple 5th Legion Trainers. I think that's enough. I think that's more than enough to get consistent draw out of the Faded Wraith. In the end, this might actually even be too much top end, because you look at Faded Wraith, Divine Fervor, Praetorian Commander, Necromancer, Conscription are all kind of top end cards, but the deck does defend itself very, very well. It has recovery tools in the form of Debilitate, it has heal in the form of Moon Bishop, Boomer Profiteer, Golden Initiate. It has ways to fight on curve just by playing reasonably statted minions like Aldvath, Skin Town, Outland Patrol, Golden Initiate Galen, Sanctuary Pet. It has basically everything you could want from a deck. It's got chances in basically every single matchup, which are the kind of decks I enjoy. There isn't one matchup that's particularly bad, and there isn't really one matchup that's particularly good either, but the deck has still felt very good to me. It's only lost like a couple of games versus about 20 wins. And I am very confident in Faded Wraith as a card. The more I play with it, I think this is a good way to kind of display its power. Let's see if we can get some games for you, because this is, of course, YouTube, and I have, I'm recording off stream. The way it's gonna work is I'll get like a fantastic game where I don't even draw Faded Wraith, so I can't show it off. So, but I do just want to show off the deck for you guys. So take a look, enjoy the game. All right, taking on another Empire. More often than not, this ends up being aggro, but could always be the mirror. Definitely don't want to keep a Conscription. Against aggro, I'll definitely keep a Sanctuary Pet, though. Double Sanctuary Pet Histmage. Kind of an awkward start-off ring, but, strong power level cards is usually what you're hoping for. Necromancer to bring back either the Histmage or the Pet. And this is a big turn. He does not play anything that is good for us. That means it is more likely that he is not aggro, and this hand was kind of going to be awkward against aggro. Has the Will-O-the-Wisp, so he looks like he is on Conscription as well. We're just going to go ahead and get the Sanctuary Pet out so we don't get this field lane snowballed. Next turn we have second Sanctuary Pet and a Karthspire Scout.
What have we here?
Actually take this value trade because I, might as well. We'll probably hold on to the Sanctuary Pet, however. Let's just get the Moon Bishop into the grave. Even though we're getting the health rather than the 1/5 here, which we'd rather have the 1/5. I'd rather just get this in the pool. It's a natural curse. And then a Doomed Adventure. So yeah, it does appear that this is not necessarily a mirror because we're not a hand buff deck, but he's running a very similar style of deck to us. So let's go ahead and get this Histmage out. We have the Necromancer to bring it right back.
I smell
It's got a Pureblood Elder, so... Yeah, definitely not a mirror. This is a very unique deck from our opponent. Let's go ahead and set up the Sank Pet. After drawing with the DGR, he will get 1 ramp out of this. We'll see what else he can get. Hopefully he doesn't have the Faded Wraith in his hand. If so, he's probably been able to buff it. We haven't seen any of the buffs from Doomed Adventure, so whatever the buff is, it's still in his hand. He has a Razumdar. Now that's fine, because he's not actually getting a card. Seeing where those buffs went, am I willing to give him another ramp at the cost of a Dawn's Wrath? I think so, because I think there's a really good chance this guy's just running really weird stuff. So let's go ahead and fire off the Necromancer. But we are tracking his hand buffs. And seeing where that buff went is a huge deal. Now we know there is no potential buff on a Faded Wraith in his hand. We'll go with the Red Brahmin, and that's fine. That gives us an opportunity now to just Dawn's Wrath. We get a little bit more value out of it at the expense of one of our Necromancers. I think that's okay. But considering he is playing Pureblood Elder, there's probably more bombs on the way. We did find a Galen, which is quite nice. So we're going to go ahead and Galen this Faded Wraith. That's going to make our... That's going to make our our Wake the Deads much, much better. And I think I just want to tempo out here. Now, the reason I'm not going to play the Fervor, even though I have enough mana to, is I can cycle this Fervor next turn. It's almost certain that he is going to have a way to remove supports, so I would rather make sure play the Faded Wraith on the same turn as the Divine Fervor when the game is going this slow. And this very much seems like he is emptying his hand in order to get Faded Wraith to have the only buff. So we're going to go ahead and Fervor now, go ahead with the Faded Wraith. We found an Edict for any of his shenanigans. We'll go ahead and take the value trades, and let's pretend we're going to push a little bit of damage here. Finding another Hiss Mage is nice. Apprentice Necromancer. Can't cycle itself starting next turn, but I am expecting this Fervor to go down. It does not, which is great for us. So we're going to keep pushing here. Push him down to 26. We're going to go ahead and go Apprentice Necromancer and a Karthspire Scout. I do want to hold this back for any form of AoE like Dawn's Wrath. I don't think we need to go too far onto the board right now. This Edict is actually quite nice to have, given that we saw a random Pureblood Elder, so... We are going to get silences on the creatures, but we have the offense right now to just push in. He's got a Murkwater Skirmisher, or whatever that's called. It's a 3-feather war chief. I don't know why I called it a Murkwater Skirmisher, that's the tribal lord, but... Found a Praetorian Commander is quite nice. We're going to put him down to 16 here. We're going to go ahead and set up that Praetorian Commander, and then we'll get an Outland Patrol. There are ways for him to recover this board, but this Praetorian Commander helps, and we're at any point we have 2 more Faded Wraiths and 2 Wake the Deads. We actually have 5 more Faded Wraiths and 2 Wake the Deads that are all fantastic draws right now in order to restock our hand, should he find some way to clear, which I assume would involve Banelord in some way. He's got Disciple of Namira, which does not draw right away anymore, in case you guys were wondering. An Immolating Blast. That was a good hit for him on the Immolating Blast. Well, let's put him down to 11. Let's get Clivia Tharn down here. With the Fervor up, she'll provide some value. We may need to hold back and start to restock. We could have Edicted that in Disciple of Namira, but as an Empire deck, I don't really trust his ability to use it that well. Yeah, there's a Calgruntid in his deck, so I'm pretty glad we kept this Edict. Sheer Point on the Clivia, and a Finish Off. And we have 8, 10, 14 damage total, counting this Edict. So he needs to take this Outland Patrol off the board. It looks like that is exactly what he's going to do. It does look like we are going to be forced to reset. Let's go ahead and knock out this Halls of the Colossus. I don't believe we can push through with our current standing, so I am just going to take this double trade. Prevent him from having Zivkin Banelord. Let's go ahead and pass it back over to him. We do have plenty of very, very strong draws still left in the deck. We'll see if we can find one. We have an Edict for that. We actually just have a Conscription. I'd much rather just conscript here now that Sales can do whatever it wants. So let's go ahead and conscript. It's going to cycle through our deck remarkably well. Let's go ahead and give Ungolem the guard. That's the one we care least about getting silenced. And let's see what he rolls. He's spinning the wheel. It's a Will-O-Wisp. Not what he was looking for. And that's going to be a victory. That one was pretty simple. He was running a greedy deck, so we just started to speed up. You'll get that sometimes with Empire Conscription. Is while we do have a remarkable amount of top end, there's going to be decks that just run nothing but hard removal, or nothing but hard removal targets, and in those cases you don't try to wait back on the hard removal, you try to keep pushing and try to make them play defensively. Taking on an Ebonheart. Now Ebonheart, I think you usually see this be, you know, the old school styles, the usually see this be like the rage styles. Occasionally you'll see aggro, so that's why I kept the Golden Initiate. I wanted something to do against aggro in the early turns, but aside from that, we kept two cards here that are very strong in terms of just drawing. This is obviously not a great card to play right away, but having it in the hand early means we have a lot of options to combo it, a lot of ways to buff it, and more than anything, it just means if we need to, we can just throw it out there and begin the process of rezzing it a bunch of times with Redoran Necromancer. But we were able to hit the 5th Legion Trainer. We can set that up the turn before we Wraith, assuming our opponent will give us the chance. But our opponent appears to be running an aggro deck with Fresh Start, so this is going to be a remarkably interesting matchup. So we're not really looking to Fated Wraith next turn. Let's just go ahead and get this Golden Initiate out. Next turn we can set up 5th Legion into TGR, and then we can probably bring this Golden Initiate back. Mute's pretty okay.
You bet on the wrong side.
We've got an Anasi for eventual guards. And we've got another 1-drop to throw out here. So let's just do that. We'll start with the TGR, see what we hit. We found a Sanctuary Pet, which is quite nice. And we'll go ahead and throw a Carspire Scout out as well. Take the trade on the Corner Club Gambler. Next turn we have access to a Redoran Necromancer as well as a kill on this. We have a Nasi if he tries to guard this up.
You can trust me.
We have a Sanctuary Pet now. And we have Moon Bishop. Moon Bishop not for this turn, but soon. So given the current pace of this game, let's go ahead and take this draw first before I go there. Given the current pace of this game, Sanctuary Pet, Anasi, and now Emperor's Blade are all reasonable options as far as hitting with Galen. You also have the option to just do Necromancer. I think I like the idea of just Sanctuary Pet. Sanctuary Pet's really easy to find time for on turns at 3 mana, and is almost always going to be doing something against this person's board. So we're going to go ahead and Shackle the Mammoth, so the only one that can trade is the Mournhold Trader. We have Moon Bishop coming out next turn to gain 4 health. We also have a bit of a visual bug here. It appears the young mammoth isn't showing is shackled, but it is indeed shackled. It's listed as muted for some reason. Everything is listed as muted. What in the world? Alright, so options here. The Moon Bishop is getting played this turn for sure, which means alongside it, the thing that looks kind of juiciest is Bruma Profiteer. Unfortunately, it's not super great in terms of mana efficiency because this Emperor's Blade has been increased. But I think heal is probably the most important thing. Let's go ahead and take this trade. Let's see if we can get a card that might help us complete this curve. It's a Golden Initiate. That's not for completing the curve, but it's damn good.
Speak, citizen.
So let's go ahead and take this trade on. Well, we want to play the Bruma first, actually. Let's take the trade onto the Mournhold Trader.
I will spill your blood.
Let's take our heal with the Moon Bishop. This will get buffed by the 5th Legion Trainer and allow a trade into the Mammoth next turn. We have both Bruma that he can't get at set up and Initiate that he can't get at set up. He could mute us again. I wonder if my stuff is listed as muted. It is. Everything in the game right now is listed as muted. That's pretty weird. He's gonna mummify the Golden Initiate. We do have another one. Swift Strike to take out the Bruma. So questions here. We could wait and just go on the Moon Bishop. I think more realistically, I want to cash in this this Golden Initiate right now. If he finds some way to deal 10 damage, obviously Bruma would have been better. I mean, we can't play anything alongside the Bruma anyway, so I'd rather just get the Initiate. Triumphant Jarl, that's not surprising. Our opponent was playing Fresh Start in an aggro deck, which means this is essentially a control deck, but he doesn't realize it's a control deck. Let's go ahead and take our heal. And I think we're just going to go ahead and play the Clivia here. We have Debilitate if he decides to go wide off the back of this Triumphant Jarl. Got Giant Snake, which is pretty fun. It looks like he's got another Silence lined up. The man likes his silence. You can't blame him. It's literally his entire deck. Got a Haunting Spirit, which is quite nice for him. That Skin Talent is quite nice for us. It's going to allow us to double guard this turn. And in theory, also protect this Golden Initiate. So let's go ahead and take out the Jarl first of all. Now these will go up to 3 attacks, so there is some use to playing the Skin Town to overwrite. Our Shadow Lane doesn't particularly matter right now because we have more than enough to trade into Shadow Lane. So let's go ahead and overwrite just to get the extra attack point. Is that true? I'd rather use all of my resources. So let's overwrite. We want to overwrite the Moon Bishop because that gives us options to bring it back should we top deck Redoran Necromancer. And speaking of Necromancer, let's go ahead and guard him up. We expect at least one Silence here, but he would need Silence Plus to get the kill on us. Running a lot of situational cards. I'll see if those situational cards will line up with this situation that he's in right now. There's another Giant Snake. He is going to swing in on this Emperor's Blade. He's going to hit the attacking Giant Snake, so he will be able to knock out that guard. which is a little unfortunate for us. We would have much rather go on the non-attacking giant snake. But it is not the end of the world, as we can just debilitate this away, leave them with only 1 power on the board. We can even execute that if we so choose, which I think we'll do. Also, somewhat importantly, leaves our 5th Legion trainer up, which will allow us to play one of these Fated Wraiths. Because I am not going to risk a silence pushing that damage through. I want that off the board. Another Jarl is not surprising. He's got a hulking mummy. Gonna go ahead and scouts report first. Finds an Unglim. Not really looking at Unglim right now. Let's go ahead and Faded Wraith to see what we find. Find an Edict of Azura, which is quite nice. We have choices here. We expect he's gonna have a silence, but I think more than anything, I want to force him to use the silence. At the same time, we have Moon Bishop next turn. So we do get a little bit of heal there. And we are dead to a 4, which is Swift Strike, Cliff Racer, that sort of thing, plus the silence. So let's go ahead and just take out the 6. And we don't want to give him cards. It's not worth the 2 heal, I think.
What did you expect? A friendly greeting?
You can trust me.
So he is just going wide onto this board. We found a Fervor. So this Faded Wraith can come in here. We can leave just the Mournhold Trader and the Haunting Spirit. We can also guard up. So if we go with the Anasi first, steal the guard. I don't think there's any way to deal with this in a more efficient way. Yeah, we go with the Anasi first to steal the guard.
Always clever. This is the secret to success.
And then we swing in with the Faded Wraith. Is there any other way I can do this? I don't think so.
You will know.
And we're going to go ahead and Necromancer back the Sanctuary Pet. Want the Sanctuary Pet to be on the Haunting Spirit. And there's no point in doing this because we're still dead to a 4 if he has his way past, giving him another card. Not what I want to do at the moment. This will push a guard into field lane as well if he makes this attack, if he doesn't have an efficient way of dealing with it. And that's nice for me. I like that. We've got an Imprisoned Deathlord. And will we see the final card in his hand? Expecting it to be a silence. We don't see it. Now we have a Javelin. So this is the turn where we can really start setting up. So let's go ahead and Javelin. We'll take the trade onto the Haunting Spirit. We will, I think, take the swing here. We get 2 swings in this situation. He has 3 cards to deal 6 damage. I don't trust his ability to do so. I'm gonna hold here. Onto Tullius's Conscription. Now, it might actually be worth just doing that because of the amount of heal cards that are present in that conscription. Bruma Profiteer and Moon Bishop both being potentially huge hits. So I think I am gonna go for that. Did not hit it. But we have presented a rather large board here. Let's go in for 2. 1 more. And we have lethal setup with this next Fervor, so he has to kill us now. Goes with the Knight of Order to start off. We do keep all of the buffs. He needs probably 3rd Giant Snake here. He's got a fresh start. Fresh start is not going to do much to the current board we are presenting him. Let's go ahead and Fervor. And there's no point in not just playing this Faded Wraith, just to see if we can draw anything that might help us throughout these runes. We found a Sank Pet, so in the emergency that he can't, that he will somehow stop this lethal, we have a way through it now. So we go 5, 5, skip the final rune. That guy was a more controlling deck than the, than the guy we faced before. You know, he's running Fresh Start and Jarl in his aggro deck. He really wants to beat control, but we were able to push through, so yeah, there's the deck. I think it's really, really strong. I enjoy playing it a lot. I like playing conscription styles because I feel like currently the game is pretty linear in a lot of ways to play mid-range and aggro, and I think this is a deck. I'm always a fan of decks that can play multiple game styles, that can play multiple different ways, and that's how I feel about conscription decks at the moment. So definitely give this one a check. I really recommend it, and have a good one.